Okay, welcome, Demetria, right?
Yep, Demetria. Hi, nice to be here.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're a power lifter, right? Correct?
Yes, yes, I'm a 48 kilogram power lifter.
Okay. What is that in pounds? I'm so bad at like the very just
48 kilograms is 105.8 pounds on the dot.
Oh wow, that's really yeah, you're really competing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm on the smaller side.
Okay, so what lifts do you kind of do? Like the three big ones, right? I'm assuming bench, squat.
Yeah, right. So powerlifting is basically the what is called the big three. So squat usually, not usually, all the time comes first in the competition, and then bench and then deadlift. So yeah, those are the big three, and they're compound movement. So they do hit every part of your body in terms of like the muscles that you're working, which is a big part of why I enjoy it.
Oh, okay. All right. And when did you start lifting weights? Like when did you start working out in general? What age?
So I started lifting weights when I was about 21 years old. That was the first time I was really exposed to it. I'm 27 now, going on 28 this year. So I was really exposed back when I was in grad school just by, my friends who were more into it taking me to the gym and me just going with them and them just kind of taking me around the bodybuilding equipment, then, kind of starting to expose me more to where, the squat rack is, where the barbells are, which back when I first started, I would never even touch that area of the gym. And I was super inconsistent and would barely go. But as I started going more with my friends who were more into it, um, I started being exposed more and more. And that's when I eventually started making it, like I said, towards using a barbell. And I just kind of fell in love with those movements.
Okay. All right. And what do you think kind of not stopped you, but hesitate like made you hesitate towards like you said it was kind of, you didn't go towards a squat rack immediately. Like was there a little bit of intimidation or like maybe because people were around?
Yeah, it was definitely fear and intimidation and just lack of exposure. Doing something new that I've never done before. A lot of people around, just I guess an innate fear. Um, but once I got into it, once you're in it and doing it and you see it's not so scary and like, no, not everyone's looking at you doing this wrong or not, um, people are actually really supportive and here to teach you. And, you know, I could also just be here doing my own thing and no one cares at all. Like that type of deal, like that fear kind of just dissipated. And I also just started enjoying it so much. There was nothing to be scared of.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that a lot that people kind of get intimidated. Honestly, I can relate to that too. When I first started working out, there was definitely a feeling of like people are kind of looking at you or got a little kind of a little shy and yeah, but I definitely hear that a lot. What does your kind of diet look like when you're kind of trying to get ready for these things? Has it changed since you started getting more into powerlifting or
Yeah, it definitely, well, when I first started powerlifting, I was really small. Like I over time I have actually like grown in the sport quite literally, just from building muscle from eating, building the muscle, like working out, eating, fueling my muscles. So I would say when I first started, I didn't necessarily change my diet a lot because there wasn't a ton to change. I fit very well into my weight class. I guess my biggest change was making sure I got enough protein. I never thought about that at all before powerlifting. I just ate to eat because I enjoyed eating and needed it to survive. But now it was like, oh, you need to hit your protein goal because you're not going to build muscle or you're not going to recover well unless you get that protein in. So that became a priority when I first started. But then actually, as I started to grow more and gain more weight and grow more muscle and just realize how important it was to fuel my body the right way if I wanted my lifts to feel good and I wanted to perform well and at a higher level. Um, I wouldn't say I'm like super duper strict, like a bodybuilding level of like nutrition or anything like that, but I did eventually start tracking my macronutrients, like how many carbs I'm getting, how much fat, how much protein, just to make sure I'm like in a groove and kind of maintaining where I'm at and in a good spot. And I give myself leeway, of course. I have my D's and my snacks and things that I enjoy eating, but staying on that routine and having that balance for the most part of like let's stay on a good path here majority of the time has been really great for my lifting. So
Yeah, I think that goes with a lot of things in fitness too. Like you can't really expect to be perfect all the time. I feel like
it's so hard.
it's not really sustainable too,
It's not
because
sustainable, and also you can be so hard on yourself when you quote unquote mess up,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think it's just that you have to give yourself a little bit of leeway. Like it's okay. It's more about the consistency and more how often you do the quote unquote right thing or do the thing in the right direction than not. And that's really helped me to not like, or helps to not be so like strict on yourself if you did go off a little bit or you did have a little bit more of that snack that you were planning on eating. It's like it's okay. We're going to get back on track tomorrow and for the rest of the week. And that's
Yeah,
just
yeah, no, for sure. I think that having that flexibility, not even just in diet, but also at least for me, well, I run marathons, and
oh wow.
you know,
That's cool.
there's yeah, there's days, I'm sure you can relate to this. There's days when you're like it's your day, like whatever you're doing, you're killing it. And then there's other days that you're like, why is this so hard today? Like this
Right.
is literally like I did this last week so much easier. And you expect it, you're putting in a certain amount of hours, you expect certain results, and sometimes progress isn't so linear, so it can be a little disheartening. And I think having that flexibility makes you, I guess, be more on track all the time over a long period of time, instead of like, well, I lifted this last week and now it's hard for me to do it again, or
Right.
that kind of thing. But yeah,
And
no, I've go on.
no, I was just going to say I like how you related it back to not just the nutrition aspect, but just doing your sport in general, just running in general, and how it doesn't always feel good. Like not every day is amazing, even if you have more good days than not. uh like there are going to be days where it just doesn't go as planned, it doesn't feel good. um so the word flexibility, I think, is just like huge. So I like that you use that word because I feel like it really applies to a lot of aspects of any time you're engaging in a sport.
Or even in general, to be honest, like I feel like
Yeah.
everyone, like
You
even
can
like,
equate you can equate anything. That's why sports are so great because you can equate anything you do to life. I'm like powerlifting actually equals life. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah, no, no, people, I've said that before too, and well, not that exact one, but I've said that before, and like people like kind of not look at me like I'm crazy, but it's hard for sometimes to relate because at least for me, I wouldn't say like I'm a marathon runner, but I started doing, well, originally I was like very overweight, and I saw running as a way to kind of do cardio. But then I started, being like testing, like, I guess my mental resilience with it, because it's kind of
Right.
hard to run like for 4 hours.
Oh yeah, I do not enjoy running at all. So you
Yeah.
are, yeah,
It was
it's
it
not.
was it was it was the worst. But anyway, so I started equating it to I guess like toughening my mind. And after 20 miles, everything hurts. No matter how in shape you're in, it's painful. And then so going that last hour is, it, to me at least, you learn a lot about yourself, because sometimes you're like, oh, like everything, I'm doing good, everything's fine. And then sometimes you're like, what? Like it's so painful. I remember there was a time that I hurt my ankle during a race. I was like 19 miles in, and it was raining and it was freezing. I was like shaking, and I actually had to quit. I was like so disappointed in myself, but I came back the next year and I finished the race, and it made me feel good coming back, but I was like, I have to, no, like I have to go back. It was so
I'm gonna
funny too.
finish it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's like,
I I broke my ankle. It was so funny.
no, for me, like that's how I look at it, because I'm like, all right, like I have to go back. Like
Yeah,
my everyone in my family was like, you're like, what? There's no one really cares. I'm like, but I care.
but you
But
care.
so
It's
I
for
think it's
you.
that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure powerlifting brings you to that same kind of thing of like it's for you, you're kind of making this not I guess, yeah, this commitment to yourself, and to try into pushing harder, and to kind of being on a regiment, more or less,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I think it's really healthy to take on that kind of, I guess, responsibility because it's almost like I'm gonna do this at this time at this day consistently for this amount of weeks, whatever it is.
Right. I guess it's a certain aspect is discipline, that discipline to keep coming back and doing it because you know what you want your I don't know, you know what you want from it. So even on those days where it's just like, oh, like you just said, I hurt my ankle. Like I could just stop. I could just not. Like I could just, you know, but there's something that keeps you going and like bringing you back. And like, I've definitely had those experiences with powerlifting. Like, motivation is not always high. There's been injuries, there's been life factors, there's just been other priorities taking place sometimes. And it's just sometimes it has to take a quote unquote back seat, or it's just not as high up on the priority list, but you could easily just stop. I'm just like, I'm don't want to stop because I know that I love this sport and I know it's important to me and I know what my you know, end goal is, I guess. So something keeps you coming back and like still putting in the work, even if you're like, don't feel like it that day or whatever it is. So, um, yeah. And then that fire usually always comes back. Like it's back right now. Like I'm like, I love lifting.
You're
I love
excited.
lifting.
Yeah. No, yeah, I definitely feel the same way. When I first started lifting weights, I was like 13, 14, something like that. And it was like for football or whatever, but I definitely felt like, oh, this is so much fun. And then I think when I was like 19 or something, I'm 23 right now. Like it didn't go away, but I was like, all right, I guess I'll just do it. But every now and then, like I'll go back and like you having an energy drink, you wake up early, it's like 6:30, 7 a.m. and you're like, this is fun. Like this is
Yeah.
way better than most things. And like, well, I don't know. I don't really do, I wouldn't say I don't do much, but there's not a lot of things I do that I guess fall into I guess what most people do. From what I hear from my age or whatever, like but lifting weights, long distance cardio, like doing something like that hard, like I don't know what it brightens my day up. I remember there was this thing a couple years ago. I went to like it was like a club that was open on a Sunday in the city and it was like I mean, I don't know. It wasn't my scene, I'll say that. But
Was it
I
a
went
brunch?
I don't know. It was like this. I didn't pick the place. Like it's this random place in the city. It like they like blacked out the windows so it would look like it's nighttime. It was the middle of the day. I don't know. Anyway, so whatever. It was one of the worst days. Oh, it was so boring. And then,
Oh,
but
wow.
the week before that, I had a half marathon in the city, and it was in Central Park. It was like
Mhm.
14 degrees. It was so cold. It was one of the most. It hurt so much my entire body. But after the rest of the day, I felt it was way better than spending all day in like I guess yeah, I don't
Right.
know. It felt a lot better, and like I was telling people that, and I got some looks.
They're like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know. They're like, dude, it was like 12 degrees that day. I'm like, I know, but
Because
you have to
it sounds
go.
like it was really rewarding for you, you know, and that feeling that you got from that, if that feels better for you than being in a club on a Sunday, which more power to you if that's how you want to spend your time, it makes you feel good. But I think it's as simple as that. It's just like this is where I enjoy putting my work and my time into, so that's where I'm gonna spend more of it, you know?
Oh, 100%, 100%. So, as far as your training goes, like, what does a week look like for you? Do you have like, because I know for, obviously different goals or just different types of splits. So, what does yours look like as
Yeah.
you're trying to build up strength?
Right. So the way my week looks is I train 4 days a week. I do have a coach. Shout out Steve Denovi. He's my coach. um, he makes my program for me, so he's the one who set it up. And what exactly I have to do on each day. It's very specific, set by like sets, reps, RP. After that, after I do the main lifts, whatever they are on each day, I do accessories, which are the bodybuilding movements and or just some type of variation to support the main movements. So for example, on a Monday, I have squats first, then I have bench, then I have two different I guess bodybuilding exercises. I get to do a rowing machine and lat pull downs. But then on a Tuesday, I'll have bench and deadlifts, and then like 5,000 different bodybuilding accessories that I can't remember off the top of my head right now, because there's a lot of them. There's like tricep extensions, bicep curls, hip thrusts. So all those different movements that either like isolate a muscle or will support the main movements more. So it is very time consuming. Like I'll go 4 days a week. I'll usually be in the gym. I actually have to start cutting down the amount of time I'm in the gym, still working on it, because I could be in there a while. Like half of it is because I'm busy socializing, but once you cut that down, once you cut down the socialization aspect, it takes about like 2.5 hours to do a powerlifting workout and get like the proper rest I think that I need in between sets. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm also curious about that. So how long do you take in between sets? Because I know like there's those memes where like, the
They make
powerlifters
fun of
like
us so hard.
like
And
5 minutes.
it's so warranted. Dude, sometimes it's longer. Sometimes it's longer.
How do you not get bored? I don't know. Well, I guess
Yeah,
you're resting. Well, I know you went hard on the last set, but I'm like,
well, there's a lot of ways you justify it in your head. You're like, I gotta mentally prepare. I have to physically recover from the last set. I have to talk to someone.
yeah, to go say hi.
There's all different reasons, but when you piece out the things that you really need, I think you really just need enough time, and everyone's different to when they feel ready to take the next set. I think a good sweet spot for me, which you're gonna be like, oh my god, really? Like 6 minutes. Six
6 minutes.
minutes.
That's
It's
not
over your
bad.
five. It's over your 5 minute. Yeah, but there was a time in my life where I used to spend a lot of time in the gym. It's just I got a little older and I started realizing, like Demetria, you need to um you have other priorities. You can't spend 6 hours in the gym. Like I could do that. I could do that when I was a little bit younger, but now I'm older. So I used to take like 10 minutes plus, like between sets.
Yeah, I had that. I definitely went through something similar to that too. Like during COVID, like I was just running and like then when the gyms opened up, I was running and lifting and like I
Oh
would
wow.
just and I was working like a part-time, but like that's all I would do. Like I was
Yeah.
enjoying like I could like it was so crazy. I was looking back, I'm like, why am I working out for 4 hours a day?
Why am I
Like
spending
sh
all the time doing this?
Literally, I was like, and it was not the most productive. I think the gym is very productive, but
Absolutely.
there's ever too much of a good thing is also like just
Yeah, it's also possible to work out too much.
yeah, I
There's
was going yeah, definitely. Because when you're 20, you just think you're like I not only do I know everything, my body's invincible, so I can do whatever I
yes,
want.
yes, the invincible thing hits so hard.
Yeah. Have you gotten injured since you started powerlifting at all, or?
Oh, yeah, I have. I've
Mm.
had like a couple of like I guess like not really like there's always going to be like little nags and pains that come along with powerlifting, which happens all the time, but it's not anything that really like impedes on you being able to execute your lifts or makes you have to pull back in any way. Um, I've had a couple of times where I had like a scare that I thought I really hurt myself, because I don't know if this has ever happened to you while you're lifting or running, but you just feel like a jerk or a pop or
Oh, a
a
little
like
like a little tinge.
or a
Yeah.
tinge or
Yeah,
like
you're just like, what was
or
that?
an initial like it hurt really bad today.
Hmm.
So you're scared that you're actually injured but just needed time to calm down. You're like, okay, I'm okay.
Hmm.
You know, that type of deal. Those have happened, but more recently in the past year I did injure my to this day I'm not exactly sure like what the exact diagnosis would be, but it was like my shoulder and pec area, like the
Okay.
bicep tendon was kind of irritated, but it got to
Okay.
the point that I went from lifting my max like a year ago, basically, like about a year ago, I was benching the most weight I could bench ever, to like gradually over a few months, I could not like bench at all without pain, like just excruciating pain and like discomfort, and like I had to keep lowering the weights until it got to a point that I was like, I can't do the competition that I wanted to do because I'm just not, I don't feel like I can, I don't feel like it, if I can't put up even like close to my best, like you know, I
You're better off
just
recovering, right?
I need to recover and I don't want to like do any more damage, I guess. And it was one of like the best things that, you know, I did. And it was hard for me initially to pull out of a competition. I've never done that before, like especially out of a big competition. So that decision didn't come lightly, but it needed to happen. Like,
Yeah, no, no, for sure. I think
yeah.
that there's a difference between, you know, I guess competing hurt versus competing legitimately injured. You could make it worse. There's a lot of negatives that come to it. You
Right.
know, that's funny though. I went through something similar when
Really?
I wasn't powerlifting, but I was like when I was 16, like I was still kind of lifting just for football. And back then
Yeah.
I could lift more. I was also like 60 pounds heavier, but um I was like, I'm gonna bench 315 because that's like every guy's like, you know, I'm gonna
Three,
bench
yeah,
315.
three plates, 3 plates.
Every guy
Seven.
wants to. I don't know. We'll try again in the future. But anyway, I was I was like hitting like let's say 275, something like that for a couple reps, and on the last rep, like it's crazy. I didn't really feel anything. I just like it just gave out, and then I got a spot. But then for about the next year after that, every time I'd bench more than like a plate, I'd feel like legitimate pain. And obviously, I was like a meathead. I was every time I'd be like, I need 2 weeks off, and then I probably needed a month off. And so
Right.
it was just a cycle of like, well, I took 2 weeks off, so I'm gonna bench again this week, and
So
then
I'm ready to go again.
I just
Right.
re-injured myself completely. It
Exactly.
was literally I was for like a year, and then after a year, I took like a solid 6 weeks off, and then it was crazy. I just wasted like a year,
Oh my God.
just an absolute just. I was
Did
just
it
a gym bro. Like I
did
just
it
was like,
fully
man.
recover though? Like did it fully
I think it's like I can definitely feel it every now and then, but it doesn't at least I don't think it impedes me like to any serious degree. I've never been after I turned about 18, 19, maybe even 20, I stopped lifting heavy. Like the heaviest I'll go is like maybe reps of like 8, maybe, but like I've never wanted to be that much stronger. I have like a benchmark, and my benchmark is like, all right, as long as I can like at least rep 225 and run at least 6 miles, I'm like, all right, that's like
that's good.
baseline.
That's baseline.
I need to keep that. I need to keep at least that because like
That level of fitness, yes.
yes, that's I remember the day because like I was a guy who couldn't run I remember the first time I tried running, I was like 270, and I go half a mile down the street covered in sweat, everything hurts. My friends drive by and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I just lied to them. I was like, "I'm going for a walk." I couldn't run that much.
Oh my
And I was
God.
embarrassed. Obviously, I was 18. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I have to go for a walk.
I was like- They were like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm walking. What does it look like I'm doing?" So
That's so funny.
anyway, yeah, I was like, "All right, I can't give up cardio." But I also like, you don't want to get not weak, but like you don't want to lose what you once had. I'll say that.
Right.
Yeah. But
But
yeah,
you sound like you strike a good balance. Like you lift, you run. I could use a little bit more cardio in my life. I'll fully admit that.
yeah, I know everyone hates cardio. I don't know why. Most people hate it. Like they're just like, oh, like,
Because that feeling, well, I can't speak for everyone. I know the reason that and it's not that I hate cardio specifically. I don't enjoy running.
oh
I,
yeah.
I I would like to sprint. Sprinting is fun, like a short sprint.
Mhm.
Like, ooh, I can run fast, but then it needs to be done. Like let me go on like a half marathon. Let's just run that like for a long period of time. I think I would want to do one in my future because of the challenge of it, like you said. But do I like to just go running for fun? No. Like my choice of cardio, it has to be some sort of like activity. Like it's got to be like
Yeah, yeah.
pickleball or hiking or like something like that. Like the running is just you feel like you can't breathe,
I feel
but
like
not in a
it's
good
just
way.
yeah, yeah. I feel
Not
like
in a
it's
good-
honestly it's just gotten boring to me. Like I've done like 6, I think. I've ran in Miami, Newport, and like Adirondacks and
Hey,
but
that's cool. Adirondacks. That's
yeah, it
cool.
was like at a it was actually really funny. I was it was at like a near like a community college,
Yeah.
and like I was legitimately dying. Like really like it was my first one, and I hurt so bad. I didn't train as well as I also drank that weekend. Like the race was on a Sunday, and
And
I
you ran
went
a
out.
marathon or a half marathon?
No, a full marathon,
Oh my.
full marathon. The race was on a Sunday, and like I went out on a Friday, and like you're out with people, and you just tell everybody you're like in two. I'm like, they're like, you're running a race in like two. I'm like, yes. I'm like, but give me alcohol. So I was like, anyway, whatever. So by mile 18, I'm wiped out. And then I'm like, maybe I should walk. And then out of nowhere, like they like brought out like everyone from the community college, like, cheering people on. And I'm like, all right, now I can't walk. And now I
You
just,
can't walk.
yeah, with everyone. Cause like if you walk while people are cheering with you and you have 8 miles left to go, honestly, like it helped, but it was very, it was like a core memory.
Wait, so
Yeah.
then you ran the last
Yeah, I ran like the last.
eight
I
miles?
I ran no, I think I ran 4 more miles and then I ran the last four. It was really
Yeah.
bad though. I couldn't really move.
Oh,
It was so bad. It's actually like I don't know. I thought it would be easier at the time. It's more of a mental thing, I think, though. 100%. I agree with people that say it's more of a mental thing because
well, it is because I was just gonna say that I don't know. You just said I need to walk. Like you were thinking to yourself, I need to walk now. But then those people came out and were cheering for you, right? And you're like, oh no, I can't walk now. And then you push yourself another four
yeah,
miles. So it's like
yeah.
we as humans are, I think, are just capable of so much more than
Mhm.
we give ourselves credit for. But it's the mind, you know.
No, no, 100%. I agree completely. I actually, what I recently, anyway, so I got kind of, I don't want to say bored of marathons, but I was like, all right, I'm looking for my next challenge. And it's getting kind of boring. So this last one, I have a race in May and it's like, I think it's going to be my last race, but it's my first ultra marathon. I was like, all right, I'm going to do
What's
this.
that?
It's
What
like
makes it ultra?
anything over the 26.2. So I'm running 50 kilometers, which is about 32 miles, I think.
Oh my
But
gosh.
after that, I'm done. I don't want to run anymore.
No more, no more.
No,
Wait,
no.
so is it that they set it to 32 or you decided I'm gonna run 32
Well,
miles?
there's a bunch of different races. So the way it works is like all marathons are the same. So the Boston, New York City, they're all 26.2.
26, yeah.
And then anything over that distance is considered an ultra. So 50
Right.
mile races, 100-mile races.
So
Uh,
this one is a 32. 100 mile. Oh my
yeah, there are
God.
people. There are people that run that. There are people that run that. I actually
Do
signed up for
they
a 50 last year, but I couldn't do it. Like I had to pull out for.
do they take breaks or something?
It
Like
depends how long it is, to be honest. So
well, don't some people run, I don't know, don't like regular marathons, like they could range a lot, but some people take like what, like 5 hours to run there. No, four. Am I
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
am I
yeah.
getting this
So
wrong?
I think the fastest was an hour 59 by the world record, and then
Exactly.
the
So
time
people,
limits. Yeah.
100 miles, you could be running for like a day.
No, but you have to sign like a waiver. You have to sign like a waiver, like saying like because like
Yeah.
those loops are they're 25 like sometimes they're 25-mile loops. So if you pass out or something like 12 miles out, like you got to sign a waiver that you're not going to sue and like
It makes sense.
you usually have to have like a crew to like be there and like, they're worried
Yeah,
about
take care
you.
of you. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, I don't
gosh.
really want to I didn't really no, I don't want to go
I
any
don't really want to
further.
do
I
that.
don't really want to
32
do
though. 32.
32 will be we'll see. We'll see. I'll try my best. I'm training's going well, but we'll see. Anyway, so what about you? When do you think you're going to compete next?
So I have my next competition in June. It's June
Hmm.
26th. It's USAPL Nationals in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm really excited. I'm about 15 weeks out now, or like 15 week. No, I am. I'm like 15 weeks out since yesterday. So it's really exciting. It'll be my first time competing in literally a year, over a year at this point, which is the longest I've ever gone without competing. But I needed time for my shoulder to recover. I had PT from an excellent PT. Shout out John Tong, DPT. I'm gonna shout out everyone that helps me. But yeah, excellent PT who helped me like basically get back to where I was before. Um, so yeah, so it's been great. Starting like January, I guess, was when I was really like, okay, gotta lock back in. I want to do a meet. It's been so long, and I think I'm ready to just put my head down and work. You know, um, so I've really been in that mentality for the past few months, and like I'm just really excited to be on the platform again. It's so exciting, and also like that meet, um, USAPL Nationals. It's something I've been doing for like the past I don't even know now, 5, 6 years, maybe 7. No, can't be 7. I don't know. A lot of years at this point, and it's just so fun. So I'm just like so excited. It's such a great meet. Um, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And just for it to be like I don't know, it's a big deal for me, I guess, to just put myself out there again and just like push myself again because it's been so long. So it's
Oh
exciting.
no, yeah, that sounds really exciting, you know, and
Yeah.
I feel like going to another state or another city, whatever it is, to kind of do a meet or a race, whatever it is, like
Right.
it's like the closest thing you get to kind of going to like an away game or something compared to like
Yes,
in high school.
exactly. The whole it's the whole experience. It's not only like the
Mhm.
competition itself, which I adore, and that's the main reason I'm going, number one, but like the whole experience, like the traveling, like which can actually be very stressful sometimes. But the going somewhere and the settling in and the taking care of yourself like the night before the meet and relaxing and doing the meet and just like either being proud of yourself or just not being maybe a little disappointed because it didn't go your way, but then like still like going out and celebrating after because you worked so freaking hard like the past weeks, months, year. Um, and then just getting to experience the place you're in like afterwards. So like the whole thing. And then just getting to be around other lifters who are just as passionate as you are about the sport and like understand you. It's like the whole thing is just it's
Do you
awesome.
go with your family or do you have people at the gym that you kind of travel with or
So it's kind of been, at least for nationals, it's been kind of different
hmm
every year.
Okay.
A lot of the times my friends come with me, which has been awesome, like having my friends there to like support me and just be proud of me and like cheer me on. Like it's literally makes my heart so happy. Almost every year my dad comes, which I really appreciate. My dad and my stepmom. So they come very often. My mom will come to meets. So yeah, friends, family will come sometimes. I have gone before on my own. I've traveled on my own before too. So it's kind of different every time. And then I've traveled with other lifters too. And then you have like friends that now that like you see every year because you made friends with them at the meet or you're friends with them on Instagram, but you don't get to see each other a lot because you're in a different state and it's just really cool.
It sounds like a very friendly community. I don't
It
really have
it is. It is. It is. Because they say it's like powerlifting is not. There are teams in powerlifting. A lot of the times, it's coming from like a coach has a team or maybe a college has a team and stuff. But a lot of people are like, oh, it's like an independent sport. Like you're working on yourself. You're not part of a whatever. But there's so many aspects to it that make it so not it's just you because people are just so supportive and nice and like want to see you do well. Um, so it doesn't feel that way majority of the time. So
Okay, that's nice.
yeah, it's cool.
Did you play any sports in high school or is this kind of, your first?
Yeah, I grew up playing softball. I grew up playing softball, like
Okay.
completely different. Like from 10 years old to like when I went to college, that was like my thing. I played softball in high school. I played travel every weekend. It was just a big that was my main thing that I did growing up. And I used to love it a lot. That was like my main thing. But then I stopped when I went to college and I didn't have a thing, like a main athletic activity, I guess. So finding powerlifting was really great for me. It's like, oh, I have something that makes me feel like
Where did you go
excited.
to undergrad?
I went to Stony Brook
Stony
University.
Brook. Oh, dope.
Yeah, Long Island. Yeah, where'd you
Dope.
go?
I went to Lehman. Went to Lehman.
Lehman. Where's
Yeah,
Lehman?
in the Bronx.
In the Bronx? Lehman.
Yes. In the
Cool.
Yeah,
Lehman in the
it
Bronx.
was okay.
Yeah, it was
It
okay.
was okay. It was all right.
Do you grow up in the Bronx too?
No, no, I grew up in Westchester. I'm from Peekskill. Peekskill.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. What about you?
I'm from Staten Island.
Staten Island. Oh,
Born and raised, yeah.
all right, nice. All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I lived in the Bronx for a semester when I went to Lehman. I lived a year in Queens. I would not recommend either.
Yeah.
But no, I would not recommend either. I didn't
One of
live
my
in the
best
nicest
friends is
parts.
from the Bronx. She don't want to hear you say that.
Really?
Yeah.
Everyone I spoke to from the Bronx, like, they didn't seem to like, cause I mean, I would kind of, I mean, I wouldn't like say anything bad. I would just be like, well, would you live here if you didn't have to? And they'd be like, no, but I have to. So it was more like, anyway, I don't want to speak too bad about my,
He's like, I'm not trying to take a dump on the Bronx.
no, I'm not. I'm really not. It was a great. time. It was so nice. No, but the thing is like, you know what would happen? I would walk out of class and I'd get like an alert on my phone, and it would be like someone just got their phone snatched right outside the gate, like right outside of the gate. I'm like, all
Oh
right, whatever.
gosh,
And that would happen all the time. And
that
then
was the norm.
one time, like I get out and there's a description of the phone snatcher, and the description is like me. It's like a
I was
young,
just gonna say, it's
literally.
like, am I the phone snatcher?
No, it was literally, and it was the exit I was leaving, and it was like, I don't know what, 5'10" Hispanic male, phone snatcher, whatever. And I'm like, if I get stopped,
Stop
I'm
right
like,
now.
I'm gonna be really, I'm gonna be not gonna be upset, but I'm gonna be like, bro, really, like this is the college, like I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that was that. What did you study?
So my in undergrad,
Uh-huh.
my major was health sciences, but they don't really do it until the last year. It's confusing. They don't really do any of the health science classes until the last year. So the first 3 years is like basically taking prerequisites for your last year, which is very health science focused. So took a lot of a lot of science classes,
Oh,
basically a lot of
nice.
biology, physics, what's the other one, chemistry, that stuff. And then the last year was all health science focus, which was awesome. And then I went there for grad school too, so
Oh, you did occupational
I did
therapy?
occupational therapy.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Oh, wow, that's really cool. That's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, I was there for 6 years. So that was at Stony Brook for 6 years.
A lot of fun. 6
Yeah,
years of
it was
fun.
6 years of fun. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
liked it. I enjoyed it. I met some of my lifelong friends there. So
No, I've heard good things about Stony Brook for sure. I was going to apply there for grad school for physician assistant, but like I graduated in December and they were like, you need your degree. It was a whole thing, but you
it was the
know,
whole thing.
yeah, it was a whole.
It was the whole thing. So we just stayed at Lehman. We just
No, I got I applied to other schools. But yeah, no, I definitely like the tuition and for PA school was definitely very nice at Stony Brook. It was an enticing factor, but
yeah.
they needed the degree conferred by a certain day or something like that. So I was like, all
Right,
right. I
right.
just graduated like I think January 1st my degree got conferred. So I studied nutrition.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it was originally supposed to be like an RDN route, but
Yeah.
I was like, no, there's no money in that. So
So you are very knowledgeable in that aspect then when we were talking about nutrition, yeah?
I try, yeah,
I tried to
I try. No, the thing is, like, I was like the classic gym bro when I was like 20. I didn't know anything, and then I was like started watching YouTube videos, and I was like, well, I might as well be like studying nutrition,
Yeah.
and then I was like, I'll just be a dietitian or whatever. But then I was like, I saw a video on YouTube. It's like why you should never be a diet, and it was like a diet. It was literally
What
like,
what did they say? What's the reason?
well, there's no autonomy, so like, you kind of need a physician or a physician assistant's permission to do almost anything, even prescribing something like cranberry juice. You have to have permission from the doctor for even that, but they kind of don't want to collaborate with you because of your, I guess, I don't want to talk shit, but like even I've talked to dietitians too, like they don't want to collaborate. Physicians do not want to collaborate with the dietitians, and
Okay, I see.
so it's a little bit
You're
of
not talking shit. You're just stating what the video said.
yeah, yeah. And it was like, you should be a PA. And the video was like, if I could go back in time, I'd go be a PA. And I was like, well, what's that? And then I took the prereqs and it was fine. It was fun, I guess. Did you do anything like for experience before you went to OT school or?
Yeah, so um in order to even apply for OT school or like to get into school, you need to have some sort of hours, right? So I went and got my hours in various places. It can only be observation hours though. So I went and observed in OT in various settings. So I observed in OT in like a hand therapy space. I went and observed OT in a school. I went and observed, where else did I observe? Oh, in an outpatient setting. So I observed all these different places. And I'm gonna be honest with you, in some of them, I felt kind of bored and I was a little bit nervous. Like I was like, there were a few times that like I was young too. Like when I went and did this, I was like, I don't know, like I was in college, I guess. So I was maybe like 19, 20 years old when I was getting these hours and stuff. And I already knew OT was the path that I wanted to be on. I had known for a long time because I'm very one track mind like that. Like when I'm set on something, I mean, it's a good and a bad thing, right? It's just like I can work really hard at something, but the flexibility was not there. I already knew I wanted to be an OT, so I was like, I'm gonna be an OT. And then, you go to these observation hours and stuff, and you're a little bored, and you're like, but whatever, whatever. I go to OT school, I get in, and then I learn. I don't know, like as I got my observation hours in an actual OT school, and we do this thing called field work, where it's basically where you actually go and in the field and practice OT with a supervisor, I guess, in different settings, and you get your actual experience. I actually really enjoyed that. So I was like, I think what it is the sitting back and watching that was boring me, not OT itself. Because once I was doing, I enjoyed it. And I realized like I can't just be an observer all day. I need to be doing something. And that's when I realized I do really enjoy this. And oh God, thank goodness, because I paid a lot of money to be here.
Yeah, I was gonna say though, grad school is not, it's not the cheapest anywhere.
No,
It's
no. I
not.
got through it though, so I'm like part of me wanted this, and then I realized out like as I was going through it, I'm like I do enjoy this. Like it was just, you know, being a
What
passive observer
what
is
patient population do you work with? Is it like everyone, or is it kind of like
I work with kids. I
that's
work
really
in
not
pediatrics.
I was gonna guess. I was gonna guess
Can you
that.
tell? Can you tell
I
by the
was
smiley face?
No, I was gonna guess because like I knew a few people who wanted to do OT and like similar personality from what I see. And I was like, yeah, everyone wants to work
Yeah.
with kids. Everyone wants to work. Yeah, everyone wants to work with
I
kids.
had someone tell me, because I didn't start with working with kids. I went into OT school thinking I wanted to work with kids. Then I changed my mind because I got exposed to all this other stuff, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to work with kids. And then I started actually working with adults and like geriatric population, and did not like it at all. And I'm like, oh no, what do I do?
I
I
don't
don't
like
like
anything.
this. I chose the wrong career path. Like, oh no. And then I was like, wait a second, let me just go work with kids. Life is not over. There's so many populations I can work with. Let me do that and see if I enjoy it. And like literally, it's so crazy how just a life change or making a change can like, I was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. I enjoy this. And I've been doing it since. It's been like 3 years now. So.
Do you think it's the fulfillment you kind of get from the patient population? Not that you don't get fulfilled by others, but do you think that that's probably a big factor to why you like working with children so much? Or
I think I think that's a big part of it for sure. Um, there's a lot of fulfillment in different ways in both populations. Uh, the fulfillment that I got from working with the older population, even though it was, like I said, it wasn't enough to keep me there, like at all. But it was honestly like chatting with people and hearing their like life stories was like a huge part of why I liked working with that population. But
okay.
working with children, it's like these beings have so much opportunity to and time to grow, and like you're helping aid in that process of like development and them just learning new skills. And that's really cool to see and be a part of. And also they're just like so silly, and you get to just be silly
Yeah.
all day. It's
Yeah,
like,
no,
you
100%.
know
100%. I
right.
worked with a few, like a couple of physicians who really liked working with children when I was a medical scribe. And there were definitely some physicians that like really liked working with peds, and then there were some that were like, you
Some
know,
people, yeah, some people can't, like, it works both ways. Some people are like, I will not work with kids. Nope, nope, nope. And I'm like, I could understand why too. Like, the same one, I get it. Like, it's not for
yeah,
everyone. It's not everyone's cup of tea. And,
yeah, no, 100%, 100%. It's definitely I think like you either really like it or you don't really
you
like
just stay away from it. Yeah.
it. Yeah.
You can
So
tell the people who don't, you can tell the people who don't like it. Or the same way you can
can
tell
you
with any
tell?
job the people who don't like being there. Like, you could tell.
Really? Like
Yeah, for
before they're
sure.
in that situation or like during the
During.
oh during. Oh, I was gonna say like no, because like I feel like I can almost not I can tell, but I feel like I can guess pretty accurately. Like if someone's like calm and like I don't want to say I would say yeah, okay. If someone's calm and like not I would say bubbly, then I'll take if I had to guess, I'm like I don't think you'd enjoy working with, a population who's very bubbly normally.
Right.
And yeah, and then the opposite is true. And so far, I've been somewhat accurate. Like when I would work with different, we'd work like with like three or four scribes, and there were some people who would call. They'd be like, "Oh, it's a kid. Like I want to take, I want to do the intake for the kid." And there were some
Yeah.
people that would like see there's a kid and pretend like they didn't see
Someone else can
anything.
have, yeah.
Yeah, I feel
Do
like
you want to take that? Like,
yeah, yeah, 100%.
yeah.
All right, moving on. So, do you have like anything specific you do for recovery? Do you kind of stay away from certain things, like try to keep your sleep schedule or anything specific, or just kind of keeping on a routine in terms of other things you do?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, routine is a big part of recovery, and hitting like the main factors like sleep, nutrition, stress. Like those are the big three that you gotta like try and keep in check the best that you can. So I really do my best to just make sure I get like 8 hours of sleep a night. If I could get more, that would be fantastic. It doesn't usually work out that way. If we could land 7 to 8, that's pretty good. So I try and stay on track with that majority of the time. Um, Trying to hit my nutrition every day, which, if I'm being completely honest, we have not been doing as of recently. I mean, I think I'm doing well. I just haven't been tracking like
Okay.
fantastically. So that's something I need to get back on track with, especially at this point in time. But making sure I hit those nutrition goals like day to day, and then the stress is a huge part of it. Really trying to manage stress. People don't realize like how much stress can affect your recovery, like both physically and mentally. Like stress is one of the most draining things for you. So trying to keep that in check as best as I can, just as a human.
No,
So
100%, 100%. I couldn't agree more with that stress part. I've talked to like a decent amount of guys that work out a lot or whatever, and it's almost like the gym is like their only outlet, and they'll be like I've heard guys legitimately tell me this like yeah, I work out all week and like work all week, and then they're like I just need to like do something to like release an outlet on
to
the
relieve it.
weekends, yeah, and they just get
Yeah.
absolutely they start drinking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like
Oh my god.
I feel like that is linked to other things. Like I'm like I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I don't get me wrong. I'm not. I'm gonna be completely candid too. Like I've done that before too. I'm not gonna sit here and act like whatever. But definitely when you're very stressed, and I would say you're not dealing with it. I think that's the biggest part. You're kind of like let's say you have a problem or something that's bugging you, and you let it fester in the back of your mind, you're more
Right.
likely to kind of not make the best decision because you're under the stress, whether it's like, oh, I'm going to stay up an hour or two later. I don't care today, like whatever,
Right.
you
Just
know.
not like managing it the right way. So like really trying to make sure to do what I need to do to just relieve that stress, whether it's like self-care, like mindfulness, getting what I need to get done, but taking it one step at a time and not getting overwhelmed, being like, oh my God, I have so much stuff to do, like whatever, that type of thing. Like,
What do you
so
do for self-care?
what do I do for self-care?
Yeah.
Um, a lot of different things, I guess. Reading is one of my favorite things to do. Like that's like what I need to do before I go to bed. One of the biggest stress relievers. It's one of those things. It's like if I don't do it, I'm like, I didn't do this today. I have to do it before I go to bed. Like, because it'll help me like calm down. So, that's like one of my big like self cares that I do. Um, Obviously, like going to the gym is one of my
Yeah.
actually a part of my self care. Um, Skincare routine. I don't know if you heard anything about that, but
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people's. I think that's a
yeah.
lot of people's. Like I've heard. I think every single woman, honestly, that I've talked to,
There's
they're
something
like,
so soothing about doing a skincare routine. It
just
just it really just makes you feel good. So, literally skincare routine. And going to the movies. I love going to the
Going to the
movies.
movies, that's a good one actually. I didn't even know that was a good one until like honestly, I'm gonna be on it until like last year. I was like, this is like really relaxing.
It is, especially now how movie theaters are. They all have the comfy seats. They go back. You could just like eat. And like it's so dark. I'm like, this has been one of my favorite things to do since I was like a kid. And like to this day, I'm like, I need to go see a movie today. That will make me feel good.
I know, no, that's and for the first time in a while, I feel like there's some good trailers coming out. I just saw like the Lilo and Stitch live action. I was like, all right, I
Yes.
need to go. Like, I'm not a big like animation, whatever live animation, but I'm like, all right, like, I'm gonna
Did
go
you
see this
see
movie.
that Stitch though? Like he's so
Yes,
cute.
yes, he's
Like
like a
we gotta
dog.
see.
No, I know. I'm not. Yeah, this isn't the most mask, but I will go. I definitely want to see that movie. I saw that on I think
It
like
looks
Twitter.
good.
I was like, this is a well-made product. Like this is, and watching movies and stuff definitely that's one of that's something good. What do you read? What do you read? I'm curious.
I'm really big on, and I always want to try different genres, and I find myself constantly coming back to mysteries, psychological thrillers, like something that's just gonna. So I'm like, oh, I do this to calm down. Meanwhile, I like to read things that are like, oh, what's gonna happen next? Like this person a psycho murderer? Is this person like a
Yeah.
that type of thing? So I
That's pretty
really like
normal.
those.
I
I
think
know
that's pretty
it's
normal. That's pretty
okay.
normal to
That's
like
good.
because a lot of people I've met, they're like, "Oh, like I need to unwind." And they put like the Night Stalker thing on Netflix and it's like this guy killed like 30 people
I
and
need to unwind.
yeah, she's like I need to calm down. Like this has been such a tough day and it's literally like a Ted Bundy documentary. I'm like, what the- It's just like so crazy. I'm like, "All right, I guess like
That's
if you
so
need to
accurate.
relax or whatever."
I
No,
guess
yeah.
it's like I don't know. I think there's a couple components that it's like whatever is happening there is like so there that it takes you out of your own whatever is going on here. Like it's like I'm in the story. Even if I'm feeling adrenaline or whatever it is, it's someone else's story that I'm listening
You can
to.
like watch along to like what's
Yes.
going on. Anyway, as far as books go, yeah, yeah. I mean, I try to read a lot, but normally they're not like, I
Yeah, what
guess,
genre do you read? If you read.
I like books on people or describing things. So like, I read Cameron Haynes' book, David Goggins' book, Jocko Willink's book, Jordan Peterson's book. But so they're more on like mindset, discipline, that kind of thing.
Right.
But when I'm just fun reading, like I started reading the James Bond series.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, so stuff like that. Yeah, that's really it. They're more like I don't want to say technical books, but like oh, I bought the Gulag Archipelago. I'm a big history nerd. I bought the Gulag Archipelago.
Oh,
It's it's
cool.
it's like on the. You know what it's about?
No, but I like that you mentioned history because it was something that I actually want to start reading that genre more. So you're like, oh, it's a history book, and I'm like, okay, tell me more. Like,
It's about like the Soviets, how when communism took over, they kind of threw they basically I'm really like summarizing, but they threw everyone in jail for like whatever. They were like, oh, like one of the crazy stories in it was like they talked about Stalin, and so they clapped obviously because they talked about Stalin, and so like everyone started clapping, and then everyone realized that the last person to stop clapping was going to be taken to jail by the secret police because they're going to be like, you're not as dedicated as you should be, and it was like an old man. An old man couldn't clap anymore, so he was the first one to stop, and they took him to jail. And I
oh
was,
my,
and I was reading the story. Anyway, like I'm very into history.
yeah,
I watched all the Netflix World War II. Like,
right.
yeah, I really like it. I really like history. Like, it's really interesting to me. I'm like,
I
imagine.
get that. Honestly, history was something like growing up that I wasn't super interested in. But now that I'm a little bit older and like listen to politics more and like what's going on in the world, and like you have to be able to like tie it back to things that happened in the past and things of that nature, I'm like now I'm more intrigued. I'm like, oh, because this is like what we lived through and what the people before us or in other places have lived through. And now I'm like more intrigued by it. I just noticed that I think that that's the thing. Like growing up, we had to read it in books, and I think I can't learn about it that way. I need to
You,
like hear about it. I
Mhm.
can't read about it.
And then
Like,
it gets so hard because you don't even know where to get. your certain information from,
Your information.
even when it comes to like yeah, there's like obviously don't get your information. I don't care where you fall on the whole thing, but on any subject, do not get your information from like an Instagram post or a Twitter post. I feel like that's not a crazy thing to say. As long I don't care what opinion you have. I feel like if your reference is like, no, this guy I follow posted this, maybe look a little into deeper. No matter what the opinion is, it could be like, I don't know, on carbs or protein. Like you should look a little deeper. But I think it gets harder because I remember I was reading this. It was like by a historian, and she was saying that like, okay, let's say you have a textbook from like America, right?
Hmm.
But all the references where they got the information from was from like Spain or Italy. It was all Italian. There was nothing written in English in the references, like where they base this information off of. It's like, and she was saying that was the number one thing that you shouldn't take that to you should take it with a grain of salt because it's basically saying like you have no references from the country itself. It'd be like if someone from Spain or Italy just wrote a book on America and the history of America and how you should it's just it doesn't make any sense. And that really opened my eyes because I was like, you know what, like it's hard because when you have I'm Ecuadorian, like let's say there was a book on Ecuadorian history,
Yeah.
there's no reference. And I speak Spanish. That's not really the language of, that's also another, that doesn't really
Right.
get over. That's a whole
Yeah,
nother.
but I get what you're saying. Like someone who has lived the experience, um,
Yeah, it's
would
hard.
be reliable.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. What ethnicity are you?
I am half Greek, and then the other half is just such a mix. It's hard to, I don't know the percentages here, but it's like a little bit of Spanish, a little bit of German, um, Cuban,
Greek?
Greek. Yeah,
Okay.
the half is Greek.
Majority Greek. Majority
Majority Greek. Majority
majority
Greek.
Greek. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Do you like any Greek food?
I love Greek food. I love Greek food.
What's your favorite? Like,
Spanakopita.
uh,
My favorite is like super simple, but it's so good. It's called macaronia kekima. It's literally just macaroni and meat sauce, but
do
it's
you do
so
you
good.
speak Greek?
No,
Oh.
but I can say that in Greek.
Okay, it sounded like you did
I
for a
can say a
second.
few Greek words, but I don't speak Greek.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's
wait, go on.
no, I was just saying it's so good. You got me talking about my favorite food now, and I'm like, ah, it's so good.
What's like your favorite normal meal not normal, but like your favorite like routinely meal that you eat now that you're kind of, I guess, prepping?
That's a good question. Oh, I know what it is. Gonna be just oddly specific. That's why I'm like. So my go-to meal
Nice.
is really simple, but I literally will just make some sort of carb and or put it in a salad and make a chicken like this is if I need to eat something quick, it's gonna fit my macros and I don't have time, I didn't meal prep this. I take chicken out of the freezer, like chicken tenderloins, and defrost them, and I put Trader Joe's citrus garlic seasoning on it, and it's like
Okay.
the best seasoning in this planet
And
on
then you
it
just
in
throw
it,
that on a salad?
and then I put the chicken on the salad and it's so good.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that. I love like grilled chicken, anything. Anything I can just munch on it
Yeah.
forever.
And if you
I
got a good seasoning, it's just changes the game.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. I feel like for me, I'm a very big red meat guy. Like I will just eat like a pound of steak and some
Yeah.
veggies. That is the best. At least for me, that's like the best meal. I feel like
No, it is. It is. I just need to actually I always think about I'm like I need to actually start buying steaks because I love steak. I just like wish it would just be made for me. Like taking the time to cook it, I wish it would just be there. Like to cook
have you
it.
ever tried other like red meats like venison or anything like that?
um I haven't tried venison. I want to try venison. Like what other red meats have I tried?
Lamb?
Oh yeah, I'm Greek. Of
Yeah,
course we eat lamb. Of course we eat lamb.
I was gonna
I don't.
say
Of course we eat lamb.
lamb chops. Can you make any
Yeah.
Greek food or no?
Nah. I mean, except for
No.
the macaroni and meat sauce.
That sounds pretty.
I have to know
Uh,
how to make my favorite food, but my mom is an excellent cook and she cooks all the Greek food. So it's
oh,
really.
so it sounds like you're set there. I worked for a Greek restaurant. That's why I know a little bit of
Oh,
the.
do you really?
I did.
So
I did.
name some foods then. Name some foods
Um,
you like.
domades they made. Domades,
Tamales,
chicken
yeah.
souvlaki.
Of course, chicken soup.
What else? They had like some desserts. Oh, I know what they had. Oh, baklava. They had
Baklava,
baklava.
yeah.
I can't say it with the accent. I, what else did they have? Mini spanakopita. They had mini spanakopita.
Love spanakopita. Have you had
Yeah,
tiropita?
I don't know what that is. It's
It's
like the
it's
cheese
it's
one.
they yeah, the cheese one, the cheese
Yeah, the
one.
cheese
Yeah.
one.
The cheese
The
version
cheese
of it.
one. Um,
Saganaki.
yeah, they did have cheese sagana. I hated that one though
So,
because you have to
oh
light it
really?
on fire, and I had to give it to the table. At least we
You
had to
don't
do that.
have okay, that was just your restaurant's thing. You don't have to set it on fire.
No, they would make us like light it, and I'm like, bro, like shit, like.
So I'm saying your
No, but it was
restaurant.
really good. It was really good food. Like I actually recommend the place where I worked at. I'm like a free reference. Like when I talk about food in general, I'm like, guys, like,
You
I'm working
gotta
at a
go.
bank now. I'm like, you have to go to like if you try food in Yorktown where I worked at, like you
Yeah.
should try Papoose Creek. I'm like, they have I've sent at least 10 people there. I don't want like I've never told my old boss that I did that, but I've sent at least 10 people there. I could 100% vouch for that
Yeah.
because I always talk about it because I mean I don't know I'm a big like give me a lot of food and I will give you like I guess good like I love like pumping places up. I'm like that's I hate maybe this is like the gym bro. I hate when like food's like expensive and then they give you like a small portion and then they're like this is blah 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 and it's like $35 for like an ounce of meat and I'm like oh, I get it honestly it's one of my biggest pet peeves. I'm just like give me a lot of red meat, give me a lot of chicken.
Give me- Yep.
Yeah, I'm like serve me like please give me a lot of food. I'm hungry. I'm hungrier than when I walked in when I
Yeah.
leave.
Please give me a lot of food.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm very passionate about that subject. Anyway, so do you think that oh, wait, hold on, sorry. I have some questions I was writing down. Oh yeah, this one I wanted to ask you. Do you think it's tough? How do you balance kind of everything? Now that I'm assuming you work as an OT full time,
Yeah.
and then powerlifting, and then from what it sounds like reading, and it's a lot to kind of balance,
Yeah.
especially when you have a specific event that you're preparing for. Do you have anything that kind of keeps you level in terms of kind of hitting all your goals, or do you have any times where you're thinking, oh, this is like a lot, and you need, kind of that flexibility thing?
Right.
Kind of yeah, how do you balance everything basically?
Ugh. There are times where it could be tough, and like balance is a huge word for me because I just think it's so important in terms of being able to do everything you want to do and how you should feel like balanced. Um, I to try and stay on track, I really just I have to do quite a few things. One, I have to make sure I take a little bit of time for myself in the morning, just like to like center myself and get ready for my day because I know I'm going to have a lot to do. That's just how it is. And that's how I like it. I enjoy it that way. I like to be doing, but it still can be a lot. Um and then I just kind of make sure I'm prepared. Um because I know I have a lot to do in one day. So I make sure my clothes are ready for the next day. I make sure I write down like the things that are outside of like besides knowing like I go to work and then I go to work again because I work a second job after work a couple days a week and then get to the gym. Like I know it's going to be a lot in one day. So, I make sure I meal prepped for the week. I try and have my clothes ready like the day before. So anything I can do to make my next day a little bit easier, I try and do that. And then also just being more cognizant of time helps me to stay balanced. It's just, I'm like, listen, you could spend forever at the gym. Like you can spend forever talking to your client or looking up resources at work, but it's just like know when to stop and move on to the next thing because you have this next
Commitments.
thing to do, commitments to do, and that type of thing. So just being more cognizant of time and what is manageable has is really what keeps me centered in like a busy day. And then having things to look forward to on the weekend.
Like what do you what do you do on the weekend to kind of unwind, I guess, from that?
Well, usually I like to spend like it could vary sometimes depending on like what's going on, like maybe there's a family event or things of that nature, but usually I like to have at least one night to myself, like just to relax, so to do those self-care things, like just unwind, um finish some extra like errands or like chores I needed to get done, which I know that sounds like, oh, that's not relaxing, but like it kind of is. Like
It is.
knowing you're getting those little things done that are outside of work and like literally outside of work and like lifting, I'm like, it feels good to like check those things off your list. Like, oh, I'm doing this and like it's done. Like it feels good. Um so yeah, having a day for that, then having a day to like spend with friends, and lifting on a Saturday where I'm not in a rush. That's the best. That's like the best. Saturday morning lifting at the gym where I'm not like I need to get home because I got to get ready for the next day and go to sleep and stuff. That's like the best lift of the week just because of that. So that yeah. I forgot what
Yeah.
your question was. I'm going on about lifting. I'm like, oh, lifting's the best.
No, no, I get it. I get it. No, you were just talking. I was just talking to you about balancing everything, and
Oh, balancing, yeah, yeah.
all the commitments you have, and I guess any yeah that no, that's very interesting. I mean, honestly, a lot of these questions I ask, they're I'm curious about because I find it every now and then, like especially when I try to tackle a new thing. It's kind of like another thing to the plate. And, there's been times where I've handled things very well, but there's also been times where I'm like, all right, maybe I could have spent more time on this, less time on that,
I'm
or
on that,
whatever
yeah.
it may be. You know what I mean? And so I think that it's
That's
very
valid.
hard, especially when you're young, to kind of, because you don't have the experience yet to know like maybe what's high yield and what's not, or, because I know for me, like there's been times in my life where I've put exercise or fitness kind of very low on the poll on the priority list just because I was like, all right, well, I only need to work out a few times a week for like 45 minutes to keep what I have, and I know how to kind of take care of myself in other regards, so I'm fine. But then I found myself being less productive. I'm like, and then I realized I'm like, I have no outlet like other like at the time, and I was like, all right, it's crazy because I was saving more time, but I was getting less done. And I was like, all right, like,
Right.
and it came from literally I just like to work out uh 6 days a week sometimes. I just maybe I'm not going crazy hard every day, but it's just good to kind of get in there or even kind of go for a mile or two run just to kind of get the blood flowing and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
for some people it works, and kind of staying it's good to do that to kind of see what works for you.
Right.
It's some people need to read, some people need to watch movies, whatever it may be. And I think now is kind of the time to figure that out. Like I'm 23 and I'm like, all right, like I think I need to, one, take risks, and two, kind of figure out exactly what works for me and how to be, I guess, the most sustainable. Sustainable, yeah, probably that's the biggest thing.
Right. And I think I listened to this on a podcast recently that really hit home. That's for things that you want to do in a day, also, like especially when you're a super busy person, we have goals, right? We need to do this, we need to do that. But there's sometimes you have so many things that you are trying to fit into your day. And it's either, and you want to be consistent, but then say if you don't, you're like, oh, like I didn't get my workout in for 2 hours today. I didn't, whatever it was. And it's something called, I guess, following a system instead of like a specific goal. So like even I don't know. Even if you say you need to go running, right? But you're so busy because you're juggling work and you're juggling this and this priority and whatever other priorities you have. But like now it's late and you didn't go running. Like, or you're just like, oh, well, I set the goal that I need to run like 2 hours every day for my marathon to get ready. But it's just like sometimes life happens and you don't want to make yourself feel bad for like not doing it. So even if you go running for 5 minutes, even if you go for 5 minutes, like you made sure you did it that day. And your consistency is more important than just being like, well, if I can't do it for the full amount of time, I'm just not doing it. Like, that type of deal. And like that really hit home for me with like some of the things that I try and fit into my day cuz life is not just work and lifting. There's other things to do too. But it's like if you don't get those things done, you feel like you failed. Like you weren't productive today. Like you didn't do anything else. Like it's just like, well, if I said I was going to do laundry today and I didn't. Well, how about you just put away two pieces of clothing, like from the laundry basket?
No, 100%.
Like,
I couldn't agree more. I feel like that's really good advice. And I think that's most helpful, I think, when you're going through something. So like let's say because like you just said, life happens and sometimes things don't always go your way. Sometimes you try your best and you lose, whatever it may be, professional, academic, relationship, platonic, whatever. And sometimes you have to accept it. And when you're under those high stress situations, and there's no solution, that's the worst. When there's no solution, you just have to live with it. You tend to be like, oh, like I was gonna do X, Y, and Z, but I only got X done, and I'm so mad. Especially when you're used to kind of winning and you kind of beat yourself up. But
right,
if you can just get something done, get moving. And the reason I'm getting like hype about this because like I've met a ton of guys my age that like they'll say they'll kind of confide. They'll be like, you know what, like I don't feel like all right, like this and that, and they'll say things, and I'm like, if you can, and I'm not saying I have all the solutions or whatever. I'm just saying like if you can get the ball rolling, I'm like you'll be surprised how much self confidence you can build, how much you can stabilize yourself, your mood, the issues you may have in other areas of your life. If you just, I don't want to say toughen up, but do things and get kind of get the ball rolling. I have to say that because it's insane. It's literally insane how many people I've run into that like it seems like they're doing fine, but then like you talk to them a little bit further and issues that come up, there's nothing wrong with going through a hard time, but I think how you deal with it can really determine. It can take a situation that turns a month into being hard into 6 to 8 months being hard, depending on what decision you make after that. um yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
right.
That's a
And
good.
sometimes it's just like just start or just do something. Like just even if you did a little bit of something, that's a step in the right direction, you know? It's the little things that matter more, I
100
think, you know.
100%. What podcast was that? Do you remember? I
It's
was gonna
called the
ask you if you listened.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great podcast. I love it. It's called The Mindset Mentor.
Oh, dope, dope, dope.
Yeah, he's
Do
really
you
good.
like watch anybody on like fitness YouTube, or did you ever get into that, or no?
No, not really. No.
No?
I mean, yeah, the majority of my fitness content that I'm into is all on my Instagram feed from like powerlifters. Like that's where I get all my fitness content.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Is there anyone that you kind of, I don't want to say like follow in the sport? Anyone specifically? Anyone that you're like, wow, they're like really, really strong. Like that's crazy.
I mean, there's so
There's
many
too many.
people. Dude. There's so
There's too
many.
many.
Yeah, powerlifters just fawn over each other, like especially the ones that are like that you look up to and you're like, wow, like I want to lift like you, or like I want to like be at the level that you are one day, or I really admire like your dedication and your motivation and how you approach training. Like there are a lot of like people that like I look up to in that capacity. So it's really hard to name a specific person. I feel like when I first started, I really would be like, oh, like this person, like, you know. Now I like as I've been spent a lot of time in it, I still to this day, like there are still those people that I'm like, I look up to so hard because they gave me, I don't know, they inspired my mindset, you know. Um, but like now I'm like at a point where I'm like, I got this. Like that, like I have those mindsets like ingrained in me. And like, yeah.
Okay. All right. What final question. What are your lifts set what sorry. What
Oh
lifts do you
no.
are is your what are your goals for your next meet in terms of lifting?
This is like crazy to say because this might be the first time I don't have like a set number in my head. Like just because coming back from the injury and everything like that, like I definitely, my goal is to definitely, instead of putting specific numbers on the
Mhm.
actual lifts, like before, I know for my last meet, I wanted to hit a 314 squat, like probably a 215 bench, and um what I want to hit for deadlifts, maybe like 380 or something like that for my last meet. That's what I wanted. And
Okay.
that was going to be back in September when I didn't end up doing it.
Hmm.
And, now coming back from this injury and just building back up and everything like that, I'm just like, I'm so grateful to just be better that like my goal for this meet is honestly to just kind of, if I can, like really blow my last total like out of the water. Like, so it doesn't, it's almost like I'm like, it doesn't have to be a specific lift. Like, I don't really care how I do it, but like, um, my last total was 397.5 kilograms. So if I could just cross that 400 threshold, like that's like a milestone for lifters my size, like past that 400 mark.
That is pretty
Um,
crazy.
and also if I could pass it by a decent amount, not just be like, oh, 400, I hit it. Like, let's make it a little higher there. That would be really sick.
That's crazy. What is that in pounds? 300, 400
I don't
kilograms.
know.
That's
Some
great.
people can tell you in pounds. You look it up. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm very just purely American. I can't tell.
Barely.
I can't tell.
I don't.
Okay, 880. Okay. No, no, I know like that's a high number. I was just like, I wonder, is that like, all right, no, that's insane. That
Yeah.
actually, especially for your size, that's a really impressive number. That's really strong. What do you
Thank you.
like, what do
Thank you.
you rep? What do you rep when you're working out now? Like in your working sets, what do your working sets look like?
I mean, it depends what lift we're talking about and like
Bench,
what's been
bench,
been
bench.
programmed. Okay, bench right now, like the most that I've done as we're leading back into higher
Uh-huh.
weights was I just did 100 and what did I do? 181 pounds for three,
Wow.
like for a
That's
triple.
crazy.
So yeah, yeah, and it's nice to be hitting that weight again because I couldn't for a long time. So yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. And then you said you're aiming for 4. Well, you were at one point you were aiming for 314 on the squat. And these are
On
like I always find it so crazy how in powerlifting like none of my PRs I think would count in like a powerlifting meet cuz like I'm like you bounce it but you guys need like you need like the green light all three.
yeah,
Yeah, you need all
you
three
need
green
three
lights.
white lights, three white lights.
And then it counts. Oh my God.
Yeah. You could pass with two though. Maybe you'd pass with two white lights, 2 to 1.
I'm pretty weak right now. I can't even lie. And steps, especially like I've seen people like on Instagram like around my size like lifting. I'm like that's it. Literally, I would die. I'm like, that's an insane amount. They're like benching like 400 pounds. I'm like, bro, what the hell? Like that's I find it's great. It's another class of human in my opinion. I'm like that's
I agree. It is
insane.
another class of human.
I'm like that's really impressive. Anyway. I think we can end it there, but
Sure.
it's been really fun. All right, I'll
Yeah.
stop
Yeah, it was nice talking to
recording.
you.
This video is intended for entertainment and satirical purposes only. The content shared in this video represents personal opinions and humors and is not meant to be taken as professional advice or guidance. This channel and its creators are not affiliated with any professional or educational institution. Viewer discretion is advised, and any resemblance to real events or persons is purely coincidental.